We're here at the old viewing platform at the Adams River in Chouchouac Park. A different location with a little bit cooler today, but quite a few mosquitoes. So we're here to continue with learning more about fishing methods and cooking methods.
Okay, so once again, I'm Bernice Jensen, White Cohaytip, and I'll let our student introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Brianna Narcisse.
Okay, so we are going to talk a bit about the cooking methods. And so one of the methods that they had a long time ago was that they had the drying racks. And we are in an ideal location in the valleys where there's a lot of air current that goes through the valley. And so what they had done a long time ago is they would have what they call fishing racks. So they would have the fishing racks set up, and what they would do is they would get the salmon harvested at the river. They would have their knives, and you could do it without the guts, or some people do it with the guts in. So there's two different ways of doing it. You could open them up and gut them, and then do the back side along the top the spine area, and then you can open, and then you could take the bones out. There's always going to be some hairpin bones in there, and you could use some pliers or something to pull them out. Or when you are drying them, you just have to watch for fish bones. So what I have done is I would cut them down. You take off the head, and you take off the tail, and then you would clean them out. Then you would go through the back side, follow the rib cage, and you do one side, and then you could do the other side. Now, then you're in two pieces, and so with the two pieces, what they would do is once you have the two pieces, then they also would cut it so that there was more surface area and it would dry faster. So on a day like today, we would be able to dry our salmon relatively fast within a few days. The other way that they would do it is sometimes they would have the dry racks, and they would build a smoldering fire below, and they could smoke it. You would do that, and the type of wood that you could use is the birch or the alder as well. It has to be relatively dry wood. You wouldn't use really green wood, because the green wood would smoke more, and it would turn your salmon kind of like a blacker color. So you really go for the dry wood as well. So then you could either do it that way. Another way was to have an enclosure where you could trap the smoke in, and you could smoke the salmon. So the smoking method, the dry rack method, the other way, and this is an example of the dry salmon as well. So if you have a look at that, there's how it looks with my tape on there. So you would have it that way. You would have it a smoke method. They would also use the open fire. So if they have the fire there, they would fillet the salmon. They would have it opened up on the stick, and then you would open it more by putting it across onto the salmon, and then opening it up and leaning it into the fire so that it could cook over the open fire. The other method, yeah, that one's really good. The other method is they would use the earth oven, and they would dig into the ground, and then they would put the salmon and the meat, and sometimes the plants, the vegetable plants in there, or even berries, and they would put it into the earth oven. They'd layer it with plants and leaves, and then they would put it in the earth oven. Now, the reason that they call it an earth oven was that when they buried it, they would cover it with the topsoil again, and they would have a pole right to where the rocks are at the very bottom. They would gently take out the pole, and with a container of water, they pour that into the hole so that it would steam. And so that's how they would cook either their salmon, their meat, their berries, and their roots. So those were the different ways.
What's your favorite way, Bernice?
I must say that I really love smoked salmon. So that is my favorite way. So dried salmon are really good as well. And you'll see a lot of it along the Fraser Canyon, around the Savannah areas, and they did it in the little Shuswap areas as well. And so here, when they would cook their food though, they would also use the birch bark baskets. And we have a birch bark tree right behind us that I see. They harvest the birch bark in the springtime when the sap is running. This is cedar roots, and they would sew these baskets up, and to keep them from leaking the water out, they would use a type of pitch with some fire ash, like from the fire pits, and they would mix the two together, and they would patch these holes up so that it could hold water. They would heat to cook with these baskets, they would heat the rocks up, put them in the baskets, and it would heat the water up, and you could cook your salmon. So even if you had dried salmon, you could put it back into the water again, and then you could make a salmon type of soup, or you could eat it the way like that. So that was some of the different methods of doing that. So now we're going to get onto the making the dip nets. So we're all ready to go here. We have, now this here is just to make a replica dip net that we could do. We're going to get our stick. We're going to get our netting. We have, for this project, we have a zip tie, and I cut the netting into 4 corners. So what we're going to do is quickly, we're going to just zigzag it. It doesn't have to hit every hole. It just has to go in one side. Now you're going to go all the way around, and then you're going to flip it, and you're going to go the other way. So here we are. We have woven the netting around the zip tie all along the edge. And one of the things that you have to remember is that when you put the zip tie and you're going to click it, the box has to be on the outside, and you're going to slide it through, and you're going to put it until you hear it click. There it is. Brianna's going to show you hers, and Ollie is going to show you, and you have to be very slow. So that's what you have to go really slowly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our sticks, and we're going to use our tape that we have, and we're going to flip back the tail, put it onto the stick here, and tape it on. So here, if I look at my stick here, I'd say I'd probably go a little bit shorter. Now, like I said, the wood that you would use for your dip nets is the lodgepole pine. They would have to go up into the higher elevation, harvest the lodgepole pine. And the reason they use the lodgepole pine is because it's very narrow and the base is very small. So they would use that and harvest it, dry it, and so it's lighter and easy to transport. And so we wrap it with this tape, and there it is. How are you guys doing? So this is what I do for a project. Now this one's a larger one. I wouldn't do it as big as these ones. I'd do them a little bit smaller. I'd use a chopstick for that.
And so for your replica of the fish net, you've used netting from recycling onion bags
and orange bags.
Orange bags. So
Yeah.
do you get all your family and everybody you know saving these for you, Bernice?
Yes, I do. And I also will harvest this is the dog bane again, and we're going to go right into the next one. So let's see yours. Hold it up and show Tyler, our camera guy, and Ollie there. Okay, perfect. So we are done.